Bitcoin is approaching a $1 trillion market cap. Right now, last time I checked, which was right before I started this video, it was at $967 billion, which is absolutely insane considering where Bitcoin started. We are at a point where there's actually really established investors getting into Bitcoin. We have banks, billion-dollar banks, billion-dollar hedge funds that are recognizing Bitcoin and putting money into it. Elon Musk's Tesla, one of the richest companies in the world, has put over $1 billion into Bitcoin. We're at a point where everyone is getting into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is starting to be recognized, and while there's definitely argument against the fact that it could be the future of money, it's definitely starting to look that way, and it's definitely starting to be something that investors cannot really ignore. And that's insane considering where it started. There was once a Magic the Gathering website called Mt. Gox who then started trading Bitcoin. And at the time, all these years ago, that was really the only place to get it. People often say that, I wish I would have gotten to Bitcoin when it was under $1, around $1. And in order to do that, you had to go to Mt. Gox, a very sketchy website. You had to wire the money to them directly from your bank account. You had to have the money on their exchange. Keep in mind, their exchange did crash, which means all the money that was on their exchange was pretty much just gone like that. So you had to take the thing, money from the exchange, secure it into a digital wallet, and it's something very sketchy. The fact that back then they were able to get any actual established investors to put money in this thing is just ridiculous. Even back with the Winklevoss twins, when they first invested, I think it was $2 million or something into Bitcoin and started holding the coins themselves. It's actually amazing that they were willing to do that, considering they were going they were investors themselves, and then they had to take a risk on something they had to get from very sketchy website. They didn't have to spend the next years of their life going up to actual investors, billionaires, and telling them to put money into Bitcoin, trying to convince an actual billionaire who doesn't need to take the risk on this to put their money into a very sketchy website in order to get a currency that, one, has no value to them at that point, and two, they have no idea if the Bitcoin will ever have value to them. So they're basically asking them to take a huge risk, and the way it sounds like a risk that'll never pay off. But the thing is, they did that. A lot of people went out there and they started, using everything they could to get people to start investing in the cryptocurrency. And then it started going up a little bit. More and more people started getting to Bitcoin. It made it easier and easier to get Bitcoin. Right now, I can go on my phone and in 2 seconds, I can basically buy as much Bitcoin as I want. Bitcoin is insanely easy to get now, but of course, it wasn't always like that. So they had to get all these established investors actually to go into it. They had to encourage it over time. Bitcoin starts going up over time, and then everyone starts noticing it, and then everyone gets into Bitcoin, which means we had a bubble. And I still remember when Bitcoin, that was really when Bitcoin first reached my radar, when everyone was getting into it. It was going up nonstop. Everyone was seemingly getting rich overnight. And then it crashed. And that was really the last thing I heard about Bitcoin for a while. I remember when the crash happened, when the Bitcoin suddenly stopped appearing in the news, everyone's talking about how much money they lost. And at that moment, I was I'll probably never invest in this crypto, because to me it didn't sound like something that was actually worth it. And then over time, I started looking at it again, and the price kept going up, and I started looking at it again, and it became something I couldn't ignore. So I started putting money into Bitcoin at 22K, and I've been putting money in there consistently ever since. I remember when I first put money in there, when it was at 22K, I pretty much doubled my investment in just a few weeks, because it went from 22K to 40K in no time. And that was really when I saw the magic of Bitcoin. Even when it crashed back down to 30K, I started putting as much money as I could in there, because I knew it was going to get back to 40K. And now we are currently, we're at this moment in time, Bitcoin's at $51,000 a coin, and it is approaching $1 trillion market cap. And it's honestly just insane to me. It's insane knowing that coin that was on a Magic the Gathering website, and that no one really was even knew about, besides just a few people that were really into programming, has suddenly got the attention of actual banks and hedge funds. The fact that these people are now in this cryptocurrency in such a short amount of time, like yeah, like like it hasn't really been it hasn't really been that much time at all, especially for like the progress it's taking. And there's a lot of people that are saying that it's only the beginning, that it'll easily reach 70K like in the next few weeks. It could possibly hit $100,000 by the end of the year. And like that sounds absolutely insane that Bitcoin could actually like double this year. But there's a lot of people saying with like all these new people getting into it that is something that could happen. But regardless of what happens, I'm really into Bitcoin. I'm putting a lot of my money into Bitcoin. Like a lot of my investment portfolio is currently Bitcoin. Probably about maybe like 20% of my entire investment portfolio. And the fact that I think it's going to, the fact that I think it very well could hit 100K by the end of the year. I definitely think it'll reach 100K eventually. Like I'm essentially going to put as much money as I can in there because I believe I'll double my investment easily. And that's kind of like what I think, like with all these people getting into it and actual companies starting to accept it as payment. Like Tesla just announced like they're working on actually like selling Teslas for Bitcoin. And like the more this happens, the more I really think like maybe they're right. Maybe this could be the future of money. Like maybe it won't be ridiculous for me to get on a plane, like travel to like another country one day, walk up to a store and just pay with Bitcoin. Like instead of like exchanging money like at the airport, you just walk up, pay with Bitcoin. And like honestly, like with this, like I remember I once saw like one of like the one of the really big Bitcoin investors. They have a quote. It's like everyone will get into Bitcoin at the price they deserve. And like I thought about that. And it's like what price do I deserve? So I looked at what the price was at, and I realized like this is what I'm getting into it. This is what I'm starting to put my money in there, and I'm going to whatever happens with Bitcoin is something I believe in, something I want to invest in, and this is the price I deserve. And like really with that, like I'm really into the currency. Like I really do believe it can be something special. But even if it doesn't, it's just the fun to be a part of it. It really is. Like it's just fun. Like putting money into Bitcoin and like growing my Bitcoin and like growing my money through it. And honestly, like with the progress that it has had in such a short time, almost approaching $1 trillion market cap, there's no way there is no way this is the end. Like I really don't believe it could possibly be the end. Like I think Bitcoin is really just getting started, and that's really my thoughts on it. Like I cannot believe we are getting $1 trillion market cap like insanely soon. That's really all for this video. I just think it's insanely interesting that is happening. Before you go, you should start investing with the app Acorns. Like let me explain something to you. If you start investing like right now and you start putting $100 a week into there with starting with an initial investment of $100, you'll have over a $2.2 million return in just 40 years, assuming a 10% interest rate annually. Now this is not out of the realm of possibilities, like at all. And I genuinely think it's possible. Like it's also like worth noting that, while if you put into Acorns, you'll probably get around a 10% interest. Like if you put it in just a bank account, you'll get a 0.06% interest, which is significantly less. Like honestly, if you have extra money and you can afford, like I'll never invest more than you can afford to lose. If you can afford to put, just a few $100 a month into your Acorns account and build it up through compound interest over time, you won't regret it. If you use my link, you get $5 for free. So download Acorns down below and enjoy investing. Thank you for watching the video.